the YouTube, the Twitch, and the Kick. Let's do it. Let me pull this other thing up so I can see stuff. Yes! That is so exciting. So our summer tournament 2026 inaugural event. It's all set. Thanks to you, Retro, of course, but also to Kyler, our scheduler, who's just does so much hard work for us. We really appreciate you, friend. Alright, I'm gonna
Good.
Yeah, let me pull the stage up. And all right.
All right. For this first topic, we have, should voting in the US be mandatory? On the yes side, we have AabsoluteZero, and on the no side, we have NoKnee. Any preferences on which one of you want to go first?
No. I thought we decided that a second ago.
Yeah, I thought we did.
All right. We'll throw it up to Absolute. Your 2 minutes. All right.
What?
Ready?
What? No, it's fucking.
Oh, sorry, NoKnee. I'm sorry. I might be touched with the ADHD.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, throw him the curveball.
It's okay.
NoKnee, your 2 minutes starts now.
Okay. Zero is here to pitch what can only be described as an authoritarian fantasy masquerading as civic virtue, who want us to believe he is saving American democracy, but their solution is to systematically dismantle the very principles that define what it means to be an American. In this country, our constitutional rights are structured as protective shields against governmental intrusion, not as commands issued by the state. The First Amendment guarantees our right to speak, but it absolutely secures our right to remain silent. My opponent wants to tear up that shield and replace it with a bureaucratic shock collar, converting a sacred right of consent into a forced march to state-designated ballot boxes. To enforce this radical overreach, they are asking us to build an unprecedented administrative panopticon, a permanent federal surveillance dragnet that links your IRS files, your DMV records, and state registries to track the physical movements and civil compliance of 240 million Americans. And who pays the price for this Orwellian nightmare? Not the wealthy elite, but the poorest, most vulnerable members of our communities. My opponent builds a regressive legal trap that penalizes hourly wage workers, single mothers, and marginalized groups with compounding government fines for failing to navigate the structural barriers that the state itself has failed to fix. This is not a democratic triumph. It is a disciplinary command economy that criminalizes passivity and violates the human
30 seconds.
conscience. We must reject this heavy-handed paternalism, protect the absolute baseline of individual sovereignty, and soundly reject this dangerous proposal.
20 seconds. Yeah, if you're good, can wrap it there.
That's it.
All right. Zero, what do you have to say for that? It's a lot of words. Some people in side chat don't know all those words, so you got your 2 minutes starting now.
We require citizens to serve on juries. We don't ask whether it's convenient. You receive your summons, you appear, and you may decide whether a stranger keeps their freedom. No one calls that tyranny. We accept it as a price of the self-governed. Voting is the one duty we've made optional, and it's the easiest one we've had. You can mail in a ballot in 5 minutes. We took the lightest obligation of citizenship and made it the only one you're allowed to skip. In 1965, presidential turnout had averaged around 57%, and the midterms close to 41%. In a close election, the winner governs with barely 30% of eligible adults behind them. I asked my opponent to explain how that amounts to the consent of the governed, when 3 out of 4 citizens never gave it. The people who stay at home are not some random sample of the country. They're younger and poorer than the people who vote and less white. So the government we elect reflects a version of America that does not actually exist. No one is forced to vote for a candidate. You show up and you hand in a blank ballot or object on principle. The choice is still yours. All you lose is the option to be invisible in the government that shapes your life. We the people is supposed to mean all of us. Right now, it means people who find voting easy. Making voting a duty, make voting a duty, and we finally start meaning what we wrote down. I see my time.
All right. Damn. Both of them seeing their time.
I had too many energy drinks. I'm fucking jittering right now.
Oh gosh.
Take a deep breath, you know?
Yeah, just breathe.
Open to it?
Breathe,
You know,
breathe.
I'll
I'm
learn some
not
breathing
nervous.
techniques. Oh, he's
Yeah,
not
sure,
nervous.
okay. I
He's
can
just
hear
got
your
that
heart beating
jitters,
from over here.
caffeine jitters.
Dude,
Open
the
debate?
strawberry lemonade monsters are fucking good, dude.
All right, now into our 35-minute open debate, starting now.
Yeah, so I'd be curious just to lay it out so we can maybe have a starting point with you wanting to implement this in the United States. What does this look like? How do we get to this stage?
It'd be a general change in how we engage in voting in a societal lens, right? This would mainly be to. Oh shit, I'm fucking blanking right now.
You just described this as a general change. You don't think this would be like a major overhaul of our system?
No, I don't think it would be.
Truly, like you don't think that there's going to be some sort of like constitutional hurdles you have to get past, even like
Well,
the ways in which most people seem to want to be governed?
no. If you look at like the data, 67% of people view voting as a civil obligation.
Well, there's also data out there that shows that whenever people are asked whether they want mandated voting, this is actually a pretty bipartisan issue, and it's typically over 80% of Republican, Independent, and Democrats that say no. They don't want this to be mandatory. This should be something that you get to choose to do. It just
Sorry, I
seems like,
blanked out there.
yeah, no, like it just seems like, okay, maybe we can go like one by one through like some of the issues I would see. Um, I would imagine that like you agree with me that like a core principle of America is that uh, you have the right to speak, but also you have the right to remain silent, right? Like that, that I'm sure you've heard the memes from cops all the time, right? Like this is our Miranda right. You don't have to speak, right? You would agree
Yeah,
with that? Okay,
yeah,
and
but
so
that
like
that doesn't extend to voting though. It's not
that is
protected
that
under the Constitution.
yeah that
That
directly conflicts with the First Amendment. If you made voting mandatory, you're conflicting with your First Amendment rights.
no,
I
that
just
that
don't want to
negative
gloss
freedom
over
is not
this.
protected. It's just
What do you
absolutely not
mean?
protected.
This is though. This is something that legally you're allowed to not speak. This is something that, um, I mean, for instance, like we have different precedents that have been set. There's the West Virginia State Board of Education versus Barnett of 1943. There's the Woolley versus Maynard of 1977. These things established that the state cannot force citizens to participate in political rituals or display ideological slogans. I think I would call voting like a political ritual of sorts.
Could you elaborate on like the ritual portion you're talking to here?
Well, yeah, just like doing some sort of like, the ritual is, I have to go to the ballot box or I have to submit some sort of ballot in. And this ballot's going to be whatever processed by the government. I'm sure we kind of have like some general idea of what a ritual means. And this is like typically how these things are described. That's why I use political too. It's a political ritual.
So that still doesn't change like the engagement with like speech as an action versus voting as an action, right? Like the negative freedom of like you abstaining from a vote, right? Doesn't extend to speech.
That is your speech though. This is your political speech. That's how it's
No, it's
defined. That's
not.
how it's talked. I think probably every like, I don't know, judge, legal expert would
Yeah,
disagree with you on
the
this.
Supreme Court hasn't ruled on this.
When it comes to like what speech is, they don't think that voting is speech. Really?
They don't.
Okay.
They've made any rulings on this.
I think I don't know how I'm going to be able to convince you of this if you don't think that this is something that is constitutionally protected to remain silent. So
Well,
I guess we can move
your
to
other rights are protected, but this is just not covered by it.
yeah. This is
A
the
a
compelled
big thing
speech
through my
doctrine.
yeah. So like yeah, we can just move on. Like this actually no wait because this doesn't stop you from putting in a blank ballot, right, or compelling you to do anything like that.
Yeah, that still isn't like solving the issue that they're causing. It
What
isn't
would
the
that issue
fact that
be?
it's the compelling you to participate in this political like state mandated political ritual. They're making this where you're forced to participate in this. Even and the issue, the fundamental issue is like is still being violated if they force you to go and do this, but then you get to whisper, "Oh, nobody." It's you're still being violated in that. You're
Yeah,
having
but
to like
yeah.
okay, so like for example, like how, like what would you tell to people like say the Amish? These people they or not sorry, not the Amish, the Jehovah Witnesses. They have like a strict religious absence to going and doing these rituals. So these people they quote unquote don't are no part of the world, John 17:16. So they try to stay completely neutral when it comes to like political affairs of any like secular nation like ours. So they don't go vote, for instance, and this would be violating their rights to abstain from voting, and you would be forcing these people to go into the ballot box and then say no. You're still forcing them to participate and legitimize our system, which I mean, there's other examples too, like anarchists. They don't believe that our system is legitimate in any way, so they would not want to participate in our system, and this would be forcing them to participate in our system.
So most other like OEC countries have carve outs for this. Like you can still posit a religious objection. You can still practice your rights to not like be a conscious objector too, right?
Like, so if we want to set up a system where it's mandatory voting, but you can have like legitimate excuses, uh, you don't think that this is going to be not only like a massive surveillance state, but also would cost us a lot of money? There's, I mean, I don't know if you know, but there's roughly 240 million eligible voters in the United States. Like, I know usually only like 2/3 vote, and like 1/3 doesn't. That's a lot of Americans. That if it came down to this like setup, we have to track all of them, and then not only that, we have to spend. I mean, I would imagine this would be of the billions of dollars to be able to set up some sort of system that's capable of like tracking all these people, going processing through all of their like things that they say are issues of why they can't do it. Eh, like this is like a nightmare. Hence, in my intro, I called this a panopticon. If you're familiar with what that is, like it
Well,
would be
yeah, yeah, I understand like the panoptic principle, but how would this not exist with like current voting then? With voters that like participate? Aren't they already in this given system? We're just expanding it. I
well,
don't view
yeah.
our current system as draconian in the slightest.
I mean, you would be massively expanding it, and you would put a giant burden on the state
Yeah,
when it
and I
comes
think
to
that's
like
like
how much it would
I think
cost.
that's a good thing. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's a cost well spent. If
I
you
mean,
look
you
to
already
like
saw how
voting, yeah, if you look
horribly
to like money
unpopular it
spent.
was when we expanded the surveillance state when 9/11 or after
Well,
9/11.
we're not
Like,
talking
imagine
about an
that, but like
expansion.
times
No,
20.
no, 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 no. We're not talking about an expansion of like a surveillance state. We're talking an expansion of voting rights. And every dollar spent in like voting rights typically leads to better outcomes in your given
Expanding voting
democracy.
rights? What are you talking about? You're not expanding voting rights. You're forcing people to vote.
Oh, you thug, you bitch, dude. Are you fucking
This
kidding?
is
You're
You're not
actually gonna do?
expanding. You're
Whoa,
literally
Yeah,
doing
whoa.
the.
In fire
yeah.
here.
You're
Fiery here.
literally doing the exact
Dude,
opposite. You're not
for a second I
expanding
thought
rights.
for a
You're
second
removing rights,
I
Zero.
thought for a second I was like, oh okay, no, I see what fucking angle you're doing, dude. Oh my fucking god.
the
Yeah,
correct
dude, this
angle,
is
the
an expansion
American
of voting
angle. I'm
rights.
sorry, I'm not a communist. Like, I don't know what utopia you're thinking of. This isn't
Son
going to
of a
play out the
bitch.
way you want it to play out. In reality, way this is going to play
You
out is the government's going to have to expand dramatically, which will be fucking insane. It's going to have to monitor us. We're going to have this crazy, like, uh, essentially easily accessible to all of our data, uh, authoritarian state that's going to, like, imagine what this means. Imagine how much you have to expand the collection agencies, the people who have to go and find out if their grievances are legitimate. Like, this is, why would we do this
dude,
when we
this
could
just
just
in, the
spend that
Earth is
money
fucking
on
flat, dog. The Earth is fucking flat, dude. If you're gonna take like the libertarian position here, like man, it's just
I'm not
so
taking the
fucking weak,
American
dog.
position. This is the
Oh, the
American position.
American
I am an
position, yeah, the
American.
American
Fuck
shit,
that, dude.
yeah.
Fuck it, dude. The government has to have a very legitimate
Yeah,
reason
yeah,
to
you know what?
start
You are taking the
overstepping us.
American position, you know, like
Yeah,
hey, like
yeah,
making
yeah.
it so that only white rich men fucking vote, you know,
What are you
not the
talking
broader fucking
about?
base.
The reason why people are incapable of voting, do you think that it's just because people are lazy? Like, why people don't vote?
No. No,
Okay,
it's
so yeah,
because it's
yeah,
stifled. There's like a
yeah.
lack of
Obviously,
access,
yeah, yeah,
you know?
exactly. There's a lot of data out there to suggest that when people are asked, like, why didn't you vote, it's typically like barriers. There's structural barriers in their way. So
Yeah,
now
wouldn't
imagine.
removing those barriers be good?
No, you're not. You're literally just fucking those people over even more. Now you're making it
No,
so that not
no.
only do they still have those barriers, but also when they can't overcome those barriers, and it's not a legitimate excuse to not be able to overcome the barrier, now they're gonna get fined. What's
Oh,
the
they're gonna get
punishment?
fined? Oh, that's kind of weird because like if the 67% that view voting as like a right or fucking obligation, right? I think they'd go to the polls, motherfucker. Like what are we doing here?
I
We're gonna
just
act like
told you they
fucking like over
try.
60% of the populace wouldn't just fucking go vote?
There is a multitude of reasons of why people don't go vote. And like I
Oh
just
yeah,
said, and like
I'm gonna
you
implement the
listen, you
Singapore
just said it.
model. I'm gonna
Zero.
implement the fucking Australian model.
Zero. You
They're
just
gonna
said it.
do it anyway.
Oh yeah, I can't wait
Expanding
till
the
we have a
fucking
bunch
rights
of
is
donkey
fair.
votes. I can't wait till we have all those
Yeah,
people who
I
vote who
want
don't give
people
a
to vote
shit.
that motherfucker.
Yeah, let's just make it noisy. Let's just make the voting noisy. So then when you go into this like
This
there,
isn't noisy. This
yes
isn't
it is.
noisy. This is a representation
Okay,
of your general
imagine this.
populace. Get the
Imagine
fuck out of here
this.
with that shit, dude.
Imagine this. Imagine this. You have a small
A
community,
world that
right?
isn't
Imagine
American.
this. No, Zero.
Yes,
Imagine.
yes.
Give me a second. You imagine this. You have this small community, right? And they have some sort of specific issue to their community, and they want to try and signal to the leaders above that, hey, we want to fix this. So they organize, they make sure that people can get out to go vote, and they can signal to these people, hey, listen, this is a problem of our community and we really want to fix it. They get involved, they care. Now imagine those people have all these people who don't give a flying fuck about voting. I mean, we already know a bunch of people don't seem to care to vote. Like every single year, the winner of the election did not participate, did not vote. All these people now come swarming in and vote and just drown out those voices. So now when the politicians get their signals, what signals are they getting? They're not getting the proper signals of what people actually want. They're just getting
Are
some
getting
dipshit
that
who goes and
now with the
voted because
fucking
they don't want to be fined.
underrepresentation of the general populace. This is a fucking joke. You even admitted there were barriers, dog. Like you can't even get away from that
Why
fucking
don't we
point.
just fix the barriers? Why are we going to make it mandatory? Just fix the barriers instead of wasting the money on making it mandatory and trying to find these people.
Oh
Why don't
my
we just fix the
fucking
problems?
god.
Wait, okay, would you be against these?
The
Okay.
problems of an underrepresented
Would
populace. I wonder how we
Would you
fix this.
would you be
Maybe
against
if we
this?
make them go to the polls, dude. I don't
Okay,
know.
okay,
Maybe
okay.
that would
Yeah,
fix
yeah,
it.
yeah. We don't make them. We motivate them. We give them the ability to. That's the
Yes.
whole. That's the
Yeah.
whole. That's what America's
Yes, that
about.
general change in society that I fucking
Yeah,
referenced
it's not
earlier.
forcing.
That
I don't
that
put a gun to your head and say, go get your ass in there and vote. I say, listen, I know you want to vote. I know this matters to you, and I'm going to help you vote. This is what Democrats do all the time. I'm sure you and I agree with this. What it seems to be the strategy between Republicans and Democrats. Republicans try their damnedest to get as much people not to vote, while Republicans try their damnedest to get as much people to vote. Why don't we just expand on those things? And if you choose to not vote, that is your goddamn constitutional right as an American.
as I said before, not a constitutionally protected right. Your negative freedom is not fucking protected here, dog. It's just not. No, to quote
I
Paul.
mean,
No,
like,
no,
listen,
no.
we don't got enough
Yeah.
time to be able to get
Yeah.
into some sort of like deep dive into legal, but I promise you,
Oh yeah, the
this would
Constitution.
be,
Yeah, my
you would
bad.
not get
My
past
bad,
the
dog.
First Amendment here. Not only that, there would be a
No one
federalism
has made a ruling
crisis.
on that.
There would be a
No,
federalist
there wouldn't.
crisis. Yes, because each state is
Dog,
supposed to
in
be able to set up
Massachusetts,
how
this
this
shit's
voting
still in their
works.
state constitution. What are you talking about?
One state, like I just said, the
One
way the
state.
federalist states are set up is it's supposed to be that each state gets to pick, the time, what's the voting, and how the voting works. Now you're saying no. The federal government comes in and tells you all to fuck off. You all
What?
get to
No.
vote how
Okay,
we
no.
want.
I gotta know. What do you have against a greater representation? I'm just gonna go with the deontology here, right? What do you have against like this greater populace being represented, right?
It has to do with their motivation, and it has to do with the other rights that are being violated, and
What
it has to do with the
motivation?
noise.
What
If they
motivate
don't,
the noise? The noise
yes,
being the fucking
yes,
representation that they're pursuing?
representation doesn't matter if it's shitty representation.
It is their right, whether an idiot or if they're a fucking chatterbox.
Yes,
To vote,
and it is
to be
their right
represented.
to not vote. That's the point. Why the hell?
Yeah.
Why would I force this guy to go to the ballot? Why would I force 80? How many people don't vote typically? Like 80 million people? Why would I force 80 million people to go vote for just
Because it leads
like
to
it's a
better
fun little
egalitarian
scantron? Yo, you
outcomes
remember?
on the whole.
No,
You get
Zero.
a
Listen,
more
I know you're in high
educated
school.
voter base.
You're a high school
No,
early,
it gets a more
little bit more
educated
recent
voter
than me,
base
right?
because there is a reduction. The politicians actually have to go to the median voter, which inevitably leads to a more well-informed public, right? These are things we want. We want
don't
better
have to go.
outcomes for the broader society.
Okay, first, now you're taking away some of the barriers that are in place to stop things like these crazy populists from coming in and swinging our elections like radically. One of the barriers that someone like Trump has to pull off, which he pulled
I
off
don't
very
care
successfully,
about left or
is shit
right-leaning
like,
politics,
yeah,
motherfucker.
well,
I care about people going to
I
the
care about
polls.
having a more represented towards the center of our like what should happen in our country versus like the last 48 hours some crazy fuck just turns on every single network and just pumps out the propaganda. They already know that 90 something percent of people are going to vote, so they don't have to try to get you to vote. They know you're going to vote. Okay, so all they have to do is just
That's not
trick
true.
you.
There'd be a reduction in those attack ads that you're talking about
No,
in
there
this
wouldn't.
fucking base. They have to go to the median voter. Yes, it would. This is if you look in Australia, this shit has happened. You fucking look at Singapore, shit has happened. It is actually to the contrary here. What are you talking about?
No, this is absolutely not true.
You didn't know this. You didn't
No,
fucking
yes,
know
I
this,
do. I
dude.
know
You
the
totally
outcome.
didn't know this.
I
Dude,
know
no,
the
you
people
didn't
you're
know this.
talking about. I know the exact people you're talking about. You're talking Australia.
Yes,
What does
Brazil.
Australia have an issue?
Look
I
at
already said the
Australia.
word. I already said the word. What is Australia's issue? The
They're not
donkey
American by
voters.
your
They call it
definition.
donkey. They
Yeah,
call it donkey
yeah.
voting. It's the people that come in and don't give a shit and they vote. Okay, that's noise. I don't like that.
Yeah, you could just like vote nothing too, and that's your God-given right.
What is
You can do
no,
that. That's fine.
no,
I
your
want people
God-given
there at
right
the
is to
fucking
not
polls, though.
participate. Is to not participate. If you make them
Not
vote,
protected.
if you make them vote nothing, you're
protected.
still forcing them. It is totally protected. What?
No, it
what
isn't. Your negative freedom here is not protected.
Yes,
You just don't
we
understand
are.
the Constitution. You don't understand the First
I
Amendment.
mean,
Sorry.
you can say that if you want, sure. Listen,
No,
I don't
it's
know
just
if we have enough time
self-evident
to
here.
go through some like strong legal arguments here, but listen, this is something that is definitely constitutionally protected.
No, it isn't, and you're a fucking fool for thinking so. I don't know what you're trying to say.
Yeah,
Read your
true.
fucking Constitution.
Yeah, okay. When it comes to forcing these people to go vote, um, what are you trying to get out of this? When you get that 90% to vote, what do you think is going to be like the positive that happens from that?
A more well-informed public, a more well-represented public. I think these are two valuable things. If you're in a society that is democratic, it basically bolsters that democratic element, like on the whole, because there's just more representation. This is something we want, right?
No,
No,
this is not
you
what
don't
we
want a
want.
well-informed public. I'm sorry.
No, they
Is
will
this
be
not the case?
they'll be well informed that if you don't get your ass there, you're gonna get what's the penalties? What penalties would you enact?
You don't need a penalty. You
What do
don't
you
need.
mean?
If you look,
Wait, so
no,
it's
you don't.
toothless? So your entire thing is toothless?
It's toothless. Yeah, the
Yes.
67% of Americans that said they would do it anyway. Yeah,
Wait,
real fucking toothless, dude.
Wait, this is mandatory. What does mandatory mean?
You have to do it. But when I
Okay.
said earlier, I like
Okay, so what does
compulsory
that
voting,
imply?
where it's more of a
What-
societal obligation, right? You don't need to worry
What does
about this
that-
issue.
what does that
You don't need
imply?
to impose any burden.
What
right?
are you
Like this is a
implying?
joke. Because okay,
Wait.
let's look at
Okay, so
jury.
it's
Let's look at jury
mandatory,
duty,
but
right?
you don't have
Is
to do
that
anything.
mandatory?
Alright, sick.
No.
Alright.
Is jury duty mandatory? Right now, yes or no?
Yeah, of course, it's
If
mandatory.
yeah. What's the
Yeah.
fine imposed, right?
Yeah, do you know the distinctions between it?
Between
Do you
what?
know the distinction between jury duty and something like mandatory voting? What is
Sorry,
the fundamental
wait, hold
what
up,
is the
you literally cut
fundamental
out there
role
on my
between
end. What did you
Yeah,
say?
yeah. Well, what I'm saying is, do you know the distinction between jury duty and mandatory voting? Why one is justified and one is not justified?
No, enlighten me.
Yeah, sure. So jurors, what is a juror's responsibility? A juror's responsibility is to go in there, strip away your biases, and essentially, in some sense, just be a robot. Here's the rules of the way the system works, and we just want you to read this, whatever happens in the trial, and the entire point of this process is to actually protect the other people, because you are guaranteed an audience of or a jury of your audience, or whatever the wording is for that.
Yes, I am
You
a
are
robot
guaranteed
too,
this.
and these
So you
robots
are
will represent
doing-
me. Yes, exactly.
You have to do the jury duty is to be able to uphold other people's rights so that the government can't step in and be the jury. That's the whole point. It's to protect our rights. But then when you do mandatory voting, this is going strictly against our rights. This is totally different.
I'm
You're
sorry though.
conscripting-
I'm sorry
You're
though.
not just
It's not.
conscripting-
It's not. I said it and you kind of glazed over it, dude. It's not protected by the fucking First Amendment.
Listen, we
sorry,
can let the
try
audience
again.
decide
Try
whether this
again.
is something that's constitutional
No,
or
I
not.
don't think we need to. I
But
think
you
we have a
have-
constitution.
You have one thing.
I think it's pretty cut and clear, dude.
Jury duty, which is just a procedural conscription, while mandatory voting is an expressive conscription. You have one, jury duty, which is what is the state claiming from you? It's your physical presence, your time, right? And then in mandatory voting, what is the state claiming from you? It's your mind, it's your conscience, it's your voice. And then what is the purpose?
You
What's
don't know.
what's
That's
the
not
legal
true.
reason?
You can put in a spoil or blank ballot, baby. Right? You don't gotta fucking
That
put
doesn't
shit.
matter.
You gotta put
You're
shit on
still
that fucking
con-
thing.
Okay, go tell the anarchist, hey, I know you think this
I
entire
don't give a fuck
system
about the
is
anarchist.
illegitimate.
He's a
I know
fucking,
you
he's
think
an
the system
act
is
utilitarian,
illegitimate.
not looking out for anything else but his
This is an
own
illegitimate
good,
system
dude.
and all.
Why should
in
I
your
care
opinion,
about this
like,
fucking
sorry.
shit, dude?
You have, because this is about protecting rights.
Dude, you bring up the fucking anarchist, right? He won't go to jury duty. He won't pay his taxes. He won't participate, and we're gonna act like
What
this
are you
is
talking
fucking
about?
comparable,
He will
dude.
do that.
What are you talking about here, dog?
There
What
are
are you talking about? You sound
justifications for
stupid.
taxes, there are
Holy
strong
shit, dude.
justifications for jury duty. There are not strong justifications for voting. I'm sorry. For mandatory voting. Sorry. Don't let me misspeak there. Mandatory.
I prefer compulsory voting, changing the social stigma around this thing to where it is a
wouldn't be.
civic obligation, right? There is no fine imposed.
Okay, do
There's
that without
no
making
issue.
it mandatory. Sure. Yeah, just do that
What
without
do you
making it
think jury
mandatory.
duty is, dog? What do you think that is?
What are you talking?
That is a civic obligation already.
Yeah, and that's one that I just told you the distinctions. Do you remember the distinctions?
Oh yes, the anarchists won't do it.
No, that's not the
Yeah,
distinction.
yeah,
The
yeah.
distinctions.
Yeah, I
The
remember it.
distinctions is the reason why jury duty is legitimate is it's ensuring due process and a fair trial for your fellow citizens.
Yeah, we can't even guarantee representation, dude. Fucking land of the free,
All
home
you're
of the
doing
brave,
with mandatory voting is you're
Fucking what a
manufacturing formal
joke.
political legitimacy. Imagine, like Trump already today, right? He got a minority of votes, but he still won the popular, right? Imagine what he could say. ICE goes and kills U.S. citizens, and he says, "Oh well, this is a mandate by the people. This is what they want. Now imagine if he got 90% voter turnout and still won. Imagine how much more legitimate that sounds. Imagine what that sounds
And
like
it's
to the
what the
rest of the
people voted
world.
for, baby. That's what they
No,
want. That's fine.
it
But
wouldn't
you won't get
necessarily
that
be what
unless
they
they
voted
go
for.
to the polls, motherfucker.
You want to get people who actually pay attention to go to the polls, who are
No,
informed,
I want the
who
people
want to
who are
vote.
part of my greater society to be represented.
Okay,
I want that.
you want
I want
Joe
that,
Schmo
dude.
who's just gonna go in there and just pick his
Yes,
nose and
because
pick a
even though
random
Joe
bubble.
Schmo is an idiot, he is my brother.
Yeah,
He is
you
my
remember your brother
comrade, if you
who was
will.
doing the
Yeah.
scantrons back in school, and you just be like A, B, C, C,
Yeah, and
D,
you were fucking
A.
typing
That's
like
who you want to go in there and
800.
vote.
Dude,
That's
you're typing boobs on your
disgusting.
calculator, dude, right? Get the fuck out of here,
Yeah,
dude.
I wrote
Come on.
boobless. All right, this is stupid, and you know it's stupid.
You're
You don't
fucking
want
an
this.
idiot, dude.
You
What
don't
are we
want
doing
this.
here?
We
You
have
try
other
to
examples too.
dude, for a second I thought this debate was gonna be
Here,
like
you
more
want other
rigorous and
examples?
serious.
Did you read
And
into
then you
Chile?
chose to
What did
be the
Chile have?
enlightened.
What did
I
Chile
don't
have?
care about Chile. Moving
Oh,
on.
you don't want to talk about another
yeah.
place that has mandatory voting? You don't want to talk about that?
Oh yeah, we could like talk about like Peru
Okay,
too, or
what happened
Singapore,
with
right?
Chile?
I could be Lee Kuan Yew here right now and being
What
like,
happened to
"Hey,
Chile?
this ain't a game of cards,
The
motherfucker.
exact thing I
It's
said.
your life and mine."
Remember
And
how
I
you
got
said
the
you
iron
want to
in
be
me, but
towards the
clearly
median?
you don't, and I just
Yeah, you
fucking
remember how
shows,
you
dude.
wanted to go towards the median? You remember that? You know what outcomes we saw in Chile? We didn't see
What
that.
outcomes? What outcomes?
Chile, they originally had mandatory voting, and then they ended up getting rid of it, and the voting, as expected, dropped drastically. It went from 87% to an all-time low of 47%. This was in 2021.
Damn,
This is
sounds like
recent.
they should put
So
mandatory voting
40%
back
of
in.
people didn't give a shit to vote. They were only doing it because of that. And what did this do? This caused a participation crisis between the political legitimacy of the people. So what happened? The politicians, they went and they actually changed their or they made a constitutional amendment, something you'd have to do in America, which would be crazy, to reinstate mandatory voting in 2022. And what happened? They had a massive voluntary flip. They went from, it was like a crazy whiplash where they went from a highly progressive assembly to draft a new constitution to utterly rejecting that draft and then electing a hyper conservative assembly. They went from the left to the fucking right. So here's one example in the real world of this happening.
Okay.
This is precisely what we would see in America. We would just see
yeah.
who controls the media, like all media right now. Who controls all fucking media? Conservatives. They control legacy media from the radio. They control Fox News is probably the biggest news outlet probably in the world. I don't know
Holy
if that's
shit,
true,
are
but
you
at
done
least in
yapping?
America.
I don't care, dude. You're not engaging with my fucking
You're
point of
going
representation
to
of the
destroy this
populace, dude.
country.
Right?
You're going to destroy
you're
this
just
country.
fucking like yapping over here, dude. It's like, oh, fucking
Because
look at
I
this
love
fucking
this
nation
country
state, dude.
and I love
They're
what it
fucking
represents.
not doing it well, right? It flipped to the left and the right.
Yeah.
All right.
Whenever we're trying to evaluate whether we should implement
dude.
something, we have to look at examples. We have to think about the outcomes. I don't think that this is some sort of utopic, listen, if they just do communism this time, it'll work.
Enlightened fucking liberal, fucking
listen,
libertarian over
if
here.
all the variables
Likes to
are
flip
just
flop
lined up
from fucking
perfectly,
rule to
we'll have the perfect
utilitarianism.
outcome.
Yeah, dude. Fucking, I'm fucking knowing over here. Don't even have a good
Yeah,
argument.
I know you
Don't
hate
fucking at me, you
consequentialism.
retard
I know.
in side
Hey,
chat.
listen.
I don't need your help.
Hey, listen. I know. Philosophy.
Yeah, do not at the debaters, please.
Philosophy is as
Also,
easy
please
as riding.
try to get back to the
retro.
topic.
Don't worry about it. Let's talk.
Okay.
Philosophy is as easy as riding a bike. And let's get on the bike. I know you don't like consequentialism. I get it. You don't like to think about the negative outcomes of this. You don't like to look at the real life examples of this happening and the negative outcomes that they're having. What are they getting? What's positive? Oh, everyone's voting. Whoop de fucking do. That doesn't matter. What matters is that people want to vote. It actually gives us good signals. It's like a business, right? Like with a business
I wonder
and
how
economy.
black people felt, when they got their fucking right to serve on jury duty.
Right,
yeah, they really didn't
love,
want to vote, dude.
Do you like market economies?
Women suffrage.
Zero. Real quick, do you like market
interesting.
economies? Do you like market economies?
I really don't care. I want you to engage with my point of representation still.
Yeah. They're going to be illusionary represented. Yeah, that small little town that wanted to get something passed, and now everyone else in town who are a bunch of dipshits and don't give a fuck and go vote, they're gonna drown out their voices.
Yeah, and you know what? They're my dipshits, and they're my brothers, dude. I don't fucking care.
They're gonna fuck up any sort of political
All
movement
I'm
in our
hearing is
country.
you don't really like minorities, the youth, and black people, right? Like that's just kind of like what you're espousing right now.
Hey, listen, that's
Like
another debate for another
yeah,
time.
you laugh because it's fucking true.
That's another
Because
debate
you
for another
realize you
time.
back yourself into this fucking corner
What are you
over here,
talking
right?
about? You're
It's like,
hurting those
shit,
people.
dude. I
You
don't know,
are
man.
hurting
I
those
guess I gotta bite
people.
the bullet on this one.
Listen, either this is the one of two outcomes, and I guess
Either
you already
you're
kind
a
of told me.
bigot and you don't care about your fellow
Either
man,
you
or you're just
add
fucking
some
wrong.
sort of
And I think you're
penalty.
just wrong, dude.
Either you add a penalty to this, which is what like Australia does. It's a
You
fine.
don't need a penalty.
Right?
People are gonna go to those polls, 60-fucking-7%.
You're
And the
brain
moment,
dead!
and the no. And the moment you impose a penalty, right, it flips to 61% saying this is something we shouldn't do. So
What
when
is
you
the
impose
wait,
that
wait,
civic
Zero.
right,
I want to know.
they're gonna do it.
I want to know. I want to know. What is the meaningful difference between what we have right now and a mandatory system that has no penalty whatsoever if you don't vote? What is the meaningful difference there?
Sorry, say that again in a less
What
retarded
is
way.
the meaningful difference between what we have right now and or versus a mandatory voting system that has no penalty?
A well-informed and represented populace.
Why would those people all of a sudden go? Why would they go vote? There's no penalty. Why would they vote? Why would they care?
Because they fucking said they would. They polled. It was over
Just because you make it
67%, and you
mandatory.
are ignoring that.
Oh
Just
my
as you
God.
ignored in the
What are
very
you
beginning,
making into this?
just
Is
as you
this like a
ignored in the very
presupposition?
beginning
Oh
that
my
this
God.
right is not protected by the First Amendment, right?
Dog, is this
You're
a
looking to your negative
presuppositional
freedoms
argument?
here.
Are you assuming things that I'm just like not accepting? Is that what's happening right now?
I'm assuming you can't read the Constitution or your own fucking arguments that well. That's what I'm assuming here.
You
dude.
have a system now that still has the same structural barriers in your way. Has the same structural barriers in your way. The only difference you made was now it's mandatory. However, the mandatory isn't really mandatory because if they decide not to do it, I mean, nothing really happens. So those same people who don't want to vote are going to be like, well, wait, it's mandatory, but none's going to happen? Well, okay, I'm just not going to vote. Your system is toothless. It means nothing. You did nothing. You achieved nothing.
So would you prefer like the Singapore or incentives, right? Where it's like if you don't vote in the next election that you choose to vote, there's like a $50 fine because you didn't partake, or like the
this
$20
is what you
fine.
want. What do you want? I know what I want is to not make it mandatory. What do you want?
Yeah, no, but you're the one saying that my shit's toothless. So what would have to be here, right? Right? What would have to be here for it to like be less toothless? What do you think that would be?
Punishment. What do you mean?
Yeah, you really don't like black people. Wow, that's crazy, dude. Right? When we don't need this punishment, we don't need it.
All right.
We just don't fucking need it, dude.
Yeah, let's go down the hypothetical train of let's say you do have some sort of punishment. What does this mean? Now you have that single black mom, right? That is trying her damnedest, but she doesn't have the ability to go vote, right? Because she has like 3-4 kids. She's working multiple jobs. She doesn't have the ability to do it. And then what happens? It's mandatory and there's a fine or something worse. And now what happens when she can't make it to the ballot box because of all the different structural things in her way? Well, what happens? She gets fined. The poor person. So you're the one who's fucking the poor people.
If you expand voter rights, you spend more money
You're
on
not
this shit.
expanding
There'd be
rights.
major reform, and those barriers would be removed. Simple as,
How
dude.
are you expanding rights by making it mandatory? You're just baking in some sort of presuppositional
If we
shit that I
mandate
have
voting,
to accept.
you don't think there's going to be an expansion of voter rights? Are you actually stupid right now?
You're actually hurting rights. You have to. I've already told you. You'd have to ratify
You
the
can't even
Constitution
keep track
to
of your
pull
own
this
First
off.
Amendment rights, dog. I don't want to fucking hear about rights from you.
Yeah, bro. Dude, holy shit, man. You're killing it, dog. You're killing it. Hey, man, listen. All I'm saying is you want to have this crazy ass fucking surveillance state that has to somehow figure out how it's going to track
You can
all
say
these
that for the
hundreds of
concluding
millions
arguments,
of
dog.
Americans.
I don't need you to like
and
proselytize
somehow
that here,
they're
dude.
all just going to magically be like, oh, it's mandatory. Wait a minute. I want to vote now.
I said I was going to go vote. If it was a fucking civic obligation, I guess I'm not going to go vote. Like, that seems kind of weird.
How about this alternative? Maybe we can get some agreement here. What if instead we had some sort of like AVR, automatic voter registration? What if we had that? What if we had something like same-day election day registration?
Any general expansion towards this would be something I'm for.
What if we had some sort of no excuse universal mail-in
mandated voting?
You remember during COVID when mail-in voting was expanded a little easier, how we had Biden got the most votes of any president ever? Why don't we just expand the voting? And if you want to vote, you can vote. If you don't want to vote, you don't have to vote. It's that simple. All these problems you have, you're talking about people who want to vote and can't. And I'm saying, yes, I want them to vote too, because they
But
want to vote.
you just
Because
said
they
they
want to
can't,
vote.
dog, and you're like, you
Because
know,
they
we can just
want to.
keep the
They want
barriers
to
right
vote,
now.
and
We don't really gotta like fucking worry about these.
no,
You
I'm
even
saying
said they were fucking
instead.
donkeys and losers,
No,
dude.
no,
Like,
no,
what are
no,
you
no, no, no.
talking about?
I'm saying instead of
Nah,
wasting the
nah.
billions of dollars it would take to be able to set up these institutions to collect money and punish people who
These
don't vote in a mandatory
institutions
system,
that increase
instead
the
spend
base
that money
population's
to make it
understanding
easier.
of the electorate,
No.
that expand their voter rights, dude, right? These are good things, and they are represented. That is
I
something
agree.
we want
It
in our
is a good
society.
thing. It is a good thing to expand voter rights.
It is a
It is
great
not a
thing,
good
and
thing
it's something
to put a
you
gun
don't
against
want.
their head and force
You're
them to the ballot
presupposing
box.
that this
That's
is
not a good thing.
draconian and that this is
It
un-American,
is.
that
It
there
is.
has to be a fine. But
It
this
is.
is like your fucking
There has
prejudice
to be
here.
a fine or
We
it's
don't have to
toothless. We
do
went over
this.
this.
We don't have to fucking do this. The
If you just
people
make it
said they
mandatory,
would
but it's
vote,
not actually
they would
mandatory,
go
that goes
vote.
totally against that goes
It is
totally against what mandatory means.
it would be under a civic obligation because they said they'd
But that
fucking do
doesn't
it.
matter. They don't have to do
And
it.
if
They
you
don't have
look
to
at
follow
fucking
it.
Australia,
If
right,
we
the
just
minute they
stand
did
for
this,
the pledge,
their voting
do you have
jumped
to
to
stand for the pledge?
90% and held for a century. We gonna just think that they're
Who
not gonna vote?
cares?
Get the fuck
They
out
got
of here,
donkey
dude.
voters. Do you have to stand for the
They got
pledge?
donkeys over here.
Zero.
We got
Do you
these
have to stand for the
Dems.
pledge?
Like, holy shit, dude.
Zero. Do you have to stand for the pledge?
No, you don't have to stand for the
Yeah, you
pledge.
don't.
But
And
what
you
you're
don't have
standing
to go
on is
vote if
a
you don't want to
loose
vote
fucking
either.
foundation.
It's the
Oh,
same
well, you know,
shit.
if you knew your like Constitution,
I
maybe
know
you
my
can make that argument.
Constitution. You can go argue
No,
with
you
some
don't. You
legal
don't
experts.
even know your negative
Go argue
freedoms
with legal experts.
associated.
You'll see.
This is a fucking joke. You don't know your
All right,
negative
you
freedoms.
lost,
You're a
GG.
loser and a chud.
All right.
Nah, I
That
win.
is time. Right. We go into closing statements. Remember, there are judges. There is a side chat. I'm trying to convince them that you won this debate to move on to the next section. I think we started with NoKnee, so we'll begin the end with NoKnee. So NoKnee, your 2 minutes starts now.
When you strip away my opponent's lofty rhetoric, what are you actually left with? You're left with an authoritarian blueprint that fundamentally misjudges the human conscience and insults the intelligence of the American electorate. Throughout this debate tonight, a line has been drawn between two completely incompatible visions of society. My opponent looks at a fractured, alienated population and sees a data point to be corrected through state coercion. They believe that if the state just threatens enough poor people with fines, constructs a massive enough surveillance panopticon to track them, and forces enough bodies into voting booths, we will magically wake up in a democratic utopia. But a ballot cast under duress is not a democratic triumph. It is manufactured lie. True democratic consent must be earned, not extorted. The moment you allow the government to criminalize civil passivity, you have crossed a terrifying philosophical Rubicon. You have conceded that our minds, our time, and our political expression are ultimately the property of the state. We do not heal the deep structural inequalities of this country by penalizing the victims of those inequalities for failing to show up. We heal our democracy by dismantling the barriers that keep people away, by earning back their trust, not by issuing them citations. Do not trade your fundamental liberty for a superficial metric. Do not hand the state a permanent infrastructure for surveillance and coercion. Reject this heavy-handed, paternalistic overreach. Stand firmly on the side of individual sovereignty and soundly reject my opponent's dangerous proposition.
Damn. Okay. Got me going. Okay.
That's it.
All right. Now over to Zero. Your 2 minutes starts now.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it simple. My opponent's a loser, a libertarian, a chud. He doesn't even know his own rights. And yeah, if you like what I said, vote for me. If you like what he said, well, still vote for me. Guy's a fucking loser and doesn't know his shit. I cede my time.
A bold strategy. We'll see how chat and the judges.
It's a bold move,
think about
Cotton.
It's
We'll
a bold move.
see how it pays off for him.
I do not think Thick Boy would approve. Thick Boy is he's if he was in his grave, he'd be rolling. But I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Alrighty, I'm
All right,
gonna put the poll in the chat.
we'll put this poll
My
inside chat.
base.
Ah. Golly. Okay. All right, here we go, friends. Make sure you click the link and let us know who you thought won our debate on should voting in the United States be mandatory. Our yes was Sir Zero, and our no was NoKnee. So no should be easy to remember. Fuck you,
See,
Free.
Free gets
Everybody
the
click
idea.
it
Oh, he
and
gets the idea.
yeah,
He gets
click
the idea. That's his right. He
click.
doesn't have to vote if he doesn't want to vote.
Shut
Oh
up,
my
bitch.
gosh.
Go vote.
Oh
Okay.
my
Now,
He gets the
gosh. Primit, y'all have lost your letting you see the results privileges. Absolutely the fuck not. Oh my gosh. Oh, while we're on a little bit of a break, I want to shout out a new Digital Ground Game member who I am so impressed with and pleased to have had join our little server, which again is not, this is not our home. Our home, friends, is Digital Ground Game. You can join us there at digitalgroundgame.org. But the person who I am just so impressed with is Ashvink. And I would love for you guys to check him out. If you get a chance, just add him as a friend. Come on DGG and chat with him. He is so fucking cool. This dude is from Malaysia. And all I knew of Malaysia before speaking with him was that Zoolander tried to kill their prime minister, right? But like, no,
Wait, who?
they're
What?
if you didn't
Zoolander, the
know,
movie? Wait, what?
yeah,
Sorry,
that
you wrote that back.
that was it for me. That's all I got was Zoolander. Yes, he tried to kill the Malaysian prime minister. And so like yeah, he just informed me on so much about how um they were so integral in the start of like social media. They were so integral and are still so integral in like chip manufacturing and the AI market and whatnot. Like literally AMD, Micron, Intel, like they have all of these facilities in Malaysia. So I know you think of like Taiwan and you think chips, but all of those chips are tested in Malaysia. Like literally everybody's fucking, all jazzed about the Strait of Hormuz, but there's a Strait of Malacca that's south of Malaysia that literally all these fucking chips, all this technology has to pass through. So it's just fascinating. So I really, really enjoyed his education and I hope he, you know, enjoys his time with Digital Ground Game. I'm glad to have him as part of our international squad. So I encourage you all to not only talk to Ash,
Sure,
but
sure.
like learn a little something about Malaysia because I think it's going to have such a huge impact on like the world politics moving forward. So I appreciate him, yeah, schooling me. So just my little plug for
Cool.
Ash Vink, everybody.
Right.
All right,
Give a minute
and
or so for the next.
let's see. All right, we've got about
Give it another minute or so. If you want to
35
vote.
votes in,
True.
so that's pretty great.
That's only half. Wow, that's below even the U.S.
It'd be 100%. Get to the
True,
fucking
it should be.
polls.
Oh
We
damn.
should have made it mandatory. If you don't vote, you're kicked out. You're
True.
out. You're done. You're banned.
Damn.
Surrounded by fascists. Nice.
Damn.
Oh gosh.
All right. Let's wrap up that poll.
All right. Oh, hold on one sec. Let me. Okay. I gotcha. All right. So our poll is at 36 folks. Go ahead and shut it down, Retro.
Yep. Sounds good.
Okay.
God, I hope I lost, dude. I'm getting my Haagen-Dazs.
Oh my god, you're not gonna fucking believe it.
You're gonna have to vote in the next one. You're gonna have to do it.
All right, listen, everybody.
I get to eat ice cream, and you're gonna have to go debate.
There were a total of 36 votes. So anybody with the quick math will know that 18 of those votes were for zero, which means that the other 18 votes were for no knee.
Oh my gosh.
My dearest.
Yes.
We have a tie for the popular vote.
Oh shit.
That
Even
is
they did outside.
crazy
We didn't even need to see the chat. Okay.
Zero.
And they tied it. Oh
We
my
sure
god.
didn't.
See
This
what
is some
happens when a bunch
coordination
of
I
people
wasn't ready
start voting
for.
zero? Case in point. Right there.
Oh my goodness.
We stop the steal.
Okay, we know in the last like 48 hours you paid off enough people. Exactly what would happen.
That's crazy work.
Judges.
All right.
My wife texted me saying, "Are you going to be quiet now so I can put the kids to bed?"
Oh my gosh. Oh no.
Oh.
I said, "Fuck no."
Fucking Paul, dude.
I'll read out the first vote from one of our judges. We have 0-1. TLDR. Zero made an undeveloped argument, but an argument. No knee just claimed no coherent argument, contradicted himself, even at times. EX, remove barriers, but barriers, we need them. No populism. just kind of a series of claims. Like no real recitation. Why? Why isn't it? Show me. Don't tell me. That's our first judge.
So 1 for 0?
Let me check that again. Yes, 1 for 0.
All right.
No, please.
Oh no. Our second one is also 0.
Okay.
Oh, wait, let me check.
Fuck.
Wait, never mind. Let me check it back.
What?
Although
How do you fuck that up?
Although Zero would make the most entertaining debater to move forward, No Knee kept his composure, stayed on topic, and actually had great facts. Oh.
What a fucking
Reversal.
idiot, dude.
All right, now we're just waiting for the last one.
So we're still in a tie, yo.
Yes!
Shut the fuck up. No.
Oh my gosh. You know,
Dude, this is rigged. This is rigged. Dude, kill me now. Please.
Riggs.
It's demonstrating my point in 4K right now.
Shut the fuck up.
The populace came in the last 48 hours, swayed the votes.
Right.
I actually hope that you end up
I hear
getting
him
this. It'll be
laughing, dude.
hilarious
That's
as fuck if
wow.
No.
you get this. You thought you were just a fill-in.
True.
No.
Get your ass to the next round.
You know what? No matter what,
Ooh.
I really enjoyed this debate. I think you both did a
This is why it never
remarkable
matters.
job. It's nice to see two different styles of debate kind of come head to head, even though again we're all on the same side here, friends, which is kind of the beauty of it at the end of the day. Pontifex would disagree.
Our mystery last judge.
Live
sorry,
for
just
spit
pick-
bars right
waiting
there.
for them to write their reasoning behind it. And I'll let you know.
Well, while we're waiting, we got a YouTube comment from Sea Kitten Eve who says, "No, it should not be mandatory. If clowns wish to waste their say in our government, then so be it." So,
Damn.
thank you for weighing
fired.
in, YouTube. We appreciate you.
Shots fired at
Yeah,
the
YouTube,
side chat.
all the
with
fucking
only-
enlightened fucking people are, yeah. Fucking
Our-
idiot.
Our YouTube poll is at 60% yes voting should be mandatory, though. So sea kitten.
Ooh.
Our country is fucked. Holy shit. We're actually. It's Jover.
It's Jover, true.
It's
It's
Jover.
fucking Jover.
All right. Even though he has been contradicted, I think he gave the facts and reason. And that goes to NoKnee. Finishing off.
Wow.
All right. Moving on to the
Thank
next round.
No. We can't. We gotta let that marinate. All right. This was like the craziest debate I think we've had, or the craziest
Okay, no.
vote
It started off so lukewarm.
we've
Okay.
had.
We're like 10, 15 minutes in. And I'm like, okay, it's gonna be a pretty lukewarm debate. And it's just like out of nowhere, you thug. I'm like, what is going on? I was not like for the fucking top rope. I was just
Wow.
not expecting that at all. Holy
Top
shit.
rope.
I thought it was
Yeah.
gonna have a regular
Thug.
debate, and then he took the troll position, which the fucking dumbass judges at.
Dude, talking about troll position. This is the legitimate position.
He made some valid points.
Are you
Dude, he
retarded?
made some valid points,
Oh,
dude.
no.
Like actual fucking proof that
Oh,
people are
no.
fucking idiots. In
Are
the
you
world.
actually
Holy
are
shit.
you
They don't know
actually
their shit.
unironically
You actually
a
didn't.
mandatory
No,
voting?
Noni, you have
Are you
to admit
actually
you
that?
didn't know the negative freedom. You
Wait,
didn't
wait,
know
wait,
that wasn't
wait. Are
protected.
you actually
Admit it right now, you thug.
Are
Dude,
you
right
actually
now.
a mandatory voting loser?
Yeah.
Are you unironically? Are you?
Well, I mean,
Oh,
technically, the
The
loser
judges
here
suck.
is
My
you
opponent
zero.
sucked. The
Unfortunately,
only
I'm
respectful
sorry.
people
We
here
gotta go
are the
ahead
people
and
setting up this event.
All
Dude.
right, we're
yeah,
going
let's
to the
go and
next
move
round.
on. But thank you guys and congratulations to NoKnee.
Right. Next round, bracket 2. I forget who are our debaters.
Let me pull it up.
Dude, I was crackling that whole time. I was
Yeah,
setting
that
things
was
up.
that was awesome. I
I
gotta
don't know who
say.
was talking, but it was like jury's duty is to go up there and strip. And I was like, what? Where is this going? And it's like to strip their bias. I was like, okay, thank God. What the fuck was that
Oh
going?
my gosh.
I wonder how black people felt.
Dude,
It was such a
that
crazy line.
yeah, like we're like DMing each other on the side, like, oh my God, what the
shit.
fuck? Yeah, but that was great.
Oh, it's on our group chat. Damn. Okay.
I know, I'm trying to find it too. I'm sorry.
No, it's in the I know where it's at. Okay, I got it. Bracket 2. Should the federal minimum wage be raised? On the yes side is Azhron. On the no side, PercyPrior. All right, you two raise your hand. We'll bring you up for the next debate. All right. There's Azhron and there's PercyPrior. All right. I forget. Did we figure something out for you two?
Nope.
All right. Unless you guys have any opinion, I'll throw it to Azhron first. Unless you guys have any preference.
That's fine with me.
How about you,
Is that fine
Percy?
with you, Percy?
No preference. It's fine. Just
All right.
Okay.
All right. Let's say what was our topic again? It's increasing.
should we raise the federal minimum wage?
Yes. All right. Azhron, your 2 minutes starts now.
Thank you. In 2007, Congress passed the Fair Minimum Wage Act, increasing the minimum wage from $5.15 per hour to $7.25 per hour, incrementally over 2 years. Since that time, in 2009, the federal minimum wage had stayed frozen. 17 years since then, 30 states have implemented their own minimum wage increases. Technological advances have increased the efficiency of labor, and yet there's no state in the country where a one-bedroom apartment is affordable on the current federal minimum wage at 40 hours per week. Workers need to be compensated fairly, or the system will break down. When workers earn more, they spend more. Raising the minimum wage will boost consumer spending and local economies. In a 2021 report, the Congressional Budget Office estimated that a $15 minimum wage would lift 900,000 people, 900,000 people out of poverty and raise wages for 17 million workers. My question to my opponent is simple. If not now, then when? How many more years do we have to wait for a pay raise? It's been 17 years, and the time to raise the minimum wage is long overdue. Americans are overworked and underpaid. Some folks are working 2 jobs and still relying on SNAP benefits to make ends meet. I look forward to hearing your argument.
All right. I guess, yeah. Seize your time. Over to Percy. Ready to go?
Okay. All right. I'm
Wait,
pleased
your
to
2 minutes
find.
starts
Oh, yeah.
now. Sorry. No, go ahead. Your 2 minutes starts now. Go.
Okay, I'm pleased to hear that my opponent is citing a CBO statistic because he'll also note that the same report that he's citing from, that 2024 CBO stat, also estimated that 1 million jobs would be lost in a transition from a minimum wage from, I believe it was 7 to 15 that they were examining, but they also looked at seeing even more jobs estimated to be lost at $20 an hour and even more after that at $25 an hour. The same is true also of consensus surveys with economists where they try to look at what do the experts think is going to happen. It just turns out that when you impose a price control on labor, you make it more expensive for employers to hire people, and as a result, people's hours get cut back. New positions don't become created in the first place. Fewer businesses enter the market, and then of course there's also direct disemployment. Some people just lose their jobs. Now, my opponent is correct that you do see benefits to raising the minimum wage in terms of you increase the amount of wages to those 15, 20 million people that might be uplifted, but you also see disemployment to 1 million people. Why now? Now maybe that seems like a clear benefit on one side of the scale versus the other, but it just turns out that a marginal gain in income is a lot less important to people's happiness than being disemployed. You see, when a person becomes wealthier by let's see what the exact amount would be. So let's say you go from $7.25 an hour working full time to $15 an hour working full time. That's a transition from making $15,000 a year to $30,000 a year. The empirical literature on the connection between happiness and income might surprise you, but that's only a change in percentile terms. I mean, in standard deviations of 0.36 standard deviations of increased happiness, whereas losing your job is a transition of 2 standard deviations in your happiness. In other words, the marginal worker that's impacted by losing their job, the kind of person
That
that
is
would.
time.
Oh, yeah. Okay, go ahead. All right.
Apologies. Usually give it 30 seconds. That's on me.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
fine.
Now we're going into our open discussion. Time starts
Oh,
now.
yeah, do you have any thoughts on this argument basically saying that there's something uniquely bad about losing your job altogether that might outweigh the benefits of marginally increasing your income?
I can see why folks would think that, and they're probably right in this case to an extent. But I think they're right to feel that way because we have a lot of things tied to employment, like healthcare, um, types of benefits. They're tied to employment. Some like SNAP benefits, or I would call them like anti-poverty or low income benefits, can be tied to like having a job. And raising the minimum wage might reduce uh, the number of jobs. I think you cited like 1 million in that CBO
Yeah, that
report.
was your
Uh,
your own report
yes,
cited 1 million.
yeah, that's true. But the quality of those jobs are quite low. These are the kinds of jobs that like people would come in, maybe work for a few months and then leave. Like anybody, these are very low skill jobs. Um, I think what people generally want is a good paying job that engages with them with what their skill set. They can apply their skill set to that job, and they're able to be compensated more fairly and use those wages to live where they are. Right now, the states that have raised their minimum income are attracting more of the workforce, and thus that leads to other problems such as utilizing more of the SNAP benefits in those areas, like taking the state um, taxes and utilizing those state taxes to make sure that they can live in that area to try to find a good job. But if good jobs were just more equally spread throughout the country, then I don't think you would have this problem. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah, okay, so I mean, one thing worth noting here, do you know what percentage of people receiving the minimum wage are actually poor?
What percentage of people who are receiving the minimum wage are poor? I don't know.
So it's a small minority, it's about 10%. So for a proposed $15 minimum wage, less than 10% of directly affected workers would live in poor families. In other words, the vast majority, at least the lowest estimate I've seen is 2/3 live in families above twice the poverty line and nearly half above 3 times the poverty line. In other words, your typical person receiving the minimum wage is actually a young person living with their parents, going through school. In many cases, they're still in college or whatever. They're a second earner or a tertiary earner within their household, which the household income is well above the bottom quintile of the income distribution. So when you're framing this as like we need to raise the minimum wage to like relieve poverty or something, but it seems like it would be badly targeted to that purpose if this is true, right?
Well, I
Like, why
don't
wouldn't you
know.
just give people money directly who are poor instead of spraying it at rich families and college students?
Maybe I missed something, but I'm not sure how. You're saying like minimum wage workers are usually just people who work or work a minimum wage job and also live with their parents.
Yeah, they're typically people who belong to a household income that's well 3 times above the poverty line. So now and you were framing your it sounded like your argument for the minimum wage was that it would be very valuable to alleviating poverty. And I'm just responding by saying, how could that be true if the vast majority of people who receive the minimum wage are not actually from poor households?
And you said that was 10%.
That's right. Well, I've seen a range of estimates, but like the lowest I've seen is they say a third of the people receiving it are poor. And so my question is, okay, that's one way to try to help the poor is give a bunch of rich kids in college money to help them through
But it
their Smoothie King job, or you could just give people a direct income support through something like an earned income tax credit, say, or like a some kind of needs
but
targeted welfare.
it sounds like the other 90% are just small, like other minority groups or just groups of people that aren't this 10%, and it just happens to be that this 10% is the largest group. Am I
This
mistaken there?
No, I don't quite understand what you're saying there. All I'm saying is that the majority of the people who receive currently the minimum wage are not actually people who belong from the bottom fifth of the income distribution. So these are not
But that
actually the people that we
but that's
say
only
are poor.
10% of the populace that receives. So that means there's 90% of people uh who make minimum wage that aren't
Make more
these
than the
young
minimum
people who
wage.
work with. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Say that one more time.
So you said that this majority group is 10% of the total people working minimum wage jobs. That means 90% of the people working minimum wage job do not fall into that categorization. Is that right?
Yeah, they're not poor. That's correct. Yeah, 90% of
No, no,
roughly
they're
90% of
not
people.
young. They're not young people living with their families. That's the 10% that you're talking
No,
about?
the opposite. It's the opposite. Only 10% of the people receiving the minimum wage are actually people in the bottom quintile of the income distribution. Most of the people receiving the minimum wage are from are tertiary and secondary earners
Oh, so
in households.
90% of the minimum wage workers are these young kids working with their
Are
families.
That's right. Yeah, they're young people getting their start in the career ladder who are also usually in training and doing something other than just work full time.
Do
So
you
that's why. This is a common argument against the minimum wage. I don't know if you have heard of it, but this is a common point that's made. Is it's like why wouldn't you just directly support people, who actually have a serious need for financial relief instead of
Mhm.
spraying it into money indiscriminately across different bands of income? Um,
Because I believe that a free market solution to distribute fair wages is better than a bureaucratic way. I'm also just kind of skipping over the numbers. I'm not quite sure about the ninety
yeah, if you
percent.
want to cite, I can give you a citation. It's
Sure.
Burkhauser, McNicholas, and Sabia are the last names, and that's a report produced by NBER, which is, and we can link that. Although I don't know how in the weeds we want to get on a
Yeah,
specific
I don't
study,
mind
but
I don't
I'll
mind
put that in the side.
skipping over like reading citations
Yeah,
and things
I
like
don't. I
that.
think it'll be boring if. Okay,
Sure,
so
sure, sure.
so we've made that point. I think that it's poorly targeted to the people who have the most needs. But I'll also make this point that like that just adds to the reason why you want to do the simplest version of the policy that gets you what you want. You don't want to create these complexities that could could cause harm, right?
Yeah.
So here on the one hand, we have my solution, which is I'd say, okay, yeah, we want to help the poor. Let's do a needs targeted income support program, something like the earned income tax credit. Um, that's basically give people who have needs for money, selectively target that money to them directly. And then over here you have your version where you're saying, well, let's help the poor, but the way we're going to do it is we're going to spray a lot of money at rich people and poor people alike, and then which gives us less money, to give to the poor people in the first place. But then you're going to route it through the very controversial thing that's known as a price control on labor, kind of like rent control or whatever else, where when you ask economists about this, is this a good idea? They generally say it's probably not a good idea because it has side effects like you distort the labor market, you make it more likely that a small business will have to fire someone, or not be able to fill a position or whatever. It makes more sense to just draw the money broadly from across all of society and from all the rich people, and then redistribute it basically to help people, rather than force that small town diner in Mississippi to come up somehow with $15 an hour to pay their employees, which was a number that you drew out of your head to, help people afford the cost of living in Washington, D.C., which is a totally different place, right?
I'm not advocating for 15 specifically. I'm just advocating for a raise of some kind that makes sense for the demographic of those like poor regions. It would be like a federal minimum wage raise across the board, but I'm not like at saying we should go to California right away. We should probably implement like maybe um, $12 over 5 years, which would be like maybe 95 cents raise, and that would be pretty
Yeah.
low enough to allow the dining room owner to make adjustments. There will be in capitalist economies, there's always going to be like creative destruction. People will lose their jobs, but as time marches forward, um, as people like work and have a reason to work and are compensated for their labor, that labor goes into creating something that benefits society as a whole. So I don't want to just I kind of take issue with spraying money to with the description of spraying money to these rich people, because I think just targeting people who are working these minimum wage jobs is enough. I think we'll just go back to this young people statistic, but even if I forego that, we're still also targeting everyone else who like they are working. Maybe they want to work, maybe they don't want to work, but they are working because they have to, and it would benefit them if they were able to make more money. They could spend that money more in the local economy, and so on and so forth.
Okay, so I like that you were kind of agreeing at the beginning of what you just said with my point about we want to calibrate the minimum wage to the local conditions of a given market. We don't necessarily want to impose one standard across all the markets because what makes sense in California is going to be different from what can be afforded by small town diners in Mississippi in like some poor area, right?
Yeah, but
The amount of
I
money you
would say
need
that's
to afford the cost of living in like Los Angeles is very different, obviously, than what you need to
yeah.
like do that. Well, okay, but then in that case, why have a federal minimum wage? That I feel like that argues for my side, which is make it as up to the states so they can calibrate the policy to their own local conditions instead of imposing this one flat standard. That's what a federal minimum wage
Mhm.
is you're setting a bar on a floor on what anyone anywhere can pay their workers.
I can
Um,
understand that. I would just remind you that there can be market failures, and I think leaving it up to the states, especially states that have like invest very poorly in their own populace, and therefore throughout the years or as time goes on, the state kind of becomes a worse place to be in over time, which there's like a downward vicious cycle. Um, there's no incentive for those states to raise the standards if they're able to just exist in like these kind of poor standards all the time. So an outside force to correct that would be good. I would consider that a sort of market correction.
Well, you see, sometimes though these states can't afford it, right? Like what would be feasible in Mississippi, to take that example, we've I'm sorry to repeat the example again, but
Sure.
you have these obviously like some zip codes are just a lot their business communities can't support the same kinds of labor costs that a much richer zip code can. It doesn't make sense to have one federal standard. Why wouldn't you just let individual state figure it out for their own local conditions? That's kind of what I'm trying to get at is like Do you not see how, like, I get that you want to build in a long time horizon. You said we're going to have a gradual phase in up to, I think, $12 an hour was kind of what you're going for. So, and you're going to do it over 4 years or 5 years or something. I mean, I think what happens gradually is not just that people, you said people will adjust to it. It's like, okay, well, do you realize what that means? Adjusting to it could mean for that small town that, like, all the businesses slowly stop, new businesses stop entering the market. It stops making sense in the accounting to try new ventures in the area. You get fewer whatever restaurants. Um, I I don't mean to
These
just
are things
repeat the
that
point.
could happen, but it's not guaranteed. I mean, in this,
It's
well, I
it
guess
is
it's
expected. I
guaranteed
think.
at least
Yeah.
one time to happen. Yeah, but I
Well,
don't think
okay,
it's
but
going to happen.
the most expensive thing to an employer is labor cost. Everyone
Yeah,
agrees with that, especially in a service business like restaurants or whatever. So full-time employees are very expensive. How does it help those businesses, new businesses emerge, and how does it help them grow if you're doubling the price of their labor, going from 7 to 12 or well, 15 would be closer to a double, but you get my point. You're
yeah, I get
raising
your
their
point.
biggest cost.
Is it not the case that if you raise minimum wage, it incentivizes movement from one state to another state for better opportunities? And if you agree with that, then wouldn't it be fair to also say like that those new opportunities, people with who are making more money are able to inject that into that local economy, and that means that the local diner can either raise their prices to wherever they think that the market could bear, or just uh, if they aren't able to afford that or go with that change, then they may collapse. But this is kind of always going to be the case in a capitalist society. There's no guarantee of you know your business staying open forever.
Yeah, I mean, they may collapse. Okay, my opponent agrees. Like we're going to see some of these small towns just sort of die out, but it's for the better because maybe everyone will sort of
Well,
migrate to the
this will
city
happen if we
instead.
don't raise the minimum wage, right? This is just the thing
Yeah,
that happens.
it does happen, but it also happens when you, like a sledgehammer, bring down from the government a price control that makes it so that you've doubled the biggest cost factor in all of these small businesses, and then these small businesses evaporate because of it. At least in
Do you
these like
think raising the minimum
marginal
wage?
industries.
Do you think
But
raising the minimum wage 95 cents a year is akin to taking a sledgehammer to the local economy?
well, it's just I'm saying that there's two kinds of creative destruction here. You're saying there's one kind where like businesses get outcompeted by other businesses showing up and being more professional and running themselves better, and that's one way to lose, which I think helps everybody really in the long run because you get a better experience as a customer. Then there's another kind of way to lose where the government comes in and makes certain labor transactions illegal, and just like imagine the government shows up in it. Imagine two ways of making a construction company fail. One is I come in as the government and I say you can no longer spend any less than 10x what you currently spend on the price of wood or something, or twice what, double times two whatever you spend on wood. The other way you get a construction company to fail is you just have more competent construction companies come into existence. The latter is what usually we mean by creative destruction under capitalism. The former is what we mean by more like the government coming around and making things complicated and depressing economic growth.
But you don't think
But
that like potentially um potentially changing the local economy so that only more competent businesses survive is like a net benefit to that society?
I don't know. I would rather just let the market figure it out, like than because like by the same logic, why wouldn't you just have a rule like I feel like by this reasoning, why not have a $100 an hour minimum wage? Like only the very best possible conceivable restaurant would be able to pull
Yeah,
that off. So like maybe it's
because then
better
you
if
would
you
have
just
like you would have a monopoly at the very end of it. Like you would have like the one company that could survive that, and they're able to employ everybody, and that's bad
but
because
okay,
then
but what if why not double the price of wood through a legal mandate? I mean, then the best construction companies will be able to handle that. So it would really help everyone if we just doubled the price of wood for all
uh
construction.
because I think that's I don't have any evidence or statistics to back this up, but I just feel that if that's just a more complicated endeavor, like manipulating the prices of goods and like where they're like creating rule sets on how they're inputted into the local economy. I think that's more complicated to run, and you'll have more negative externalities through that system than just saying, all right, employers, you have to, next year it's going to be a 95 cents per hour bump in pay, and figure it out. And it might be cruel to say figure it out, but uh, I feel like it has to be done at some point if the states do nothing to help workers earn more money over time. Like, what's the point of working in those states if like the state's never going to make any company increase their pay? There will be no forces to increase their pay.
You do
Sorry?
actually.
Oh.
We do see wage growth anyway, just naturally. It's not something that you necessarily need the government to force to happen. But I wanted to make you are saying though this price double the price of wood example is like clearly different from the double the minimum wage, double the price of labor example. But you're not explaining what the difference is. You're just saying I feel like there would be. I don't know of any studies that would tell me. So that's
Yeah.
not very persuasive. But
I
can
think you have. Oh, sure. You had to finish
I feel
something
like
there.
well, I wanted to maybe make a different point because I feel like we kind of hit an impasse on this part of the argument.
Um,
You
I
not
mean,
think
I'll
so?
just if you want to move on, that's fine. But
Yeah, go ahead.
with that last thing, I would just say that the reason why I feel that the hypothetical rules on goods doubling the cost of wood would be more complicated is because it's not just wood, it's also like fuel to move the wood around. It's also the materials to construct the lumber yard. These are all like things that you would then have to consider. Like, you wouldn't just consider wood, and that like gets way more complicated. Whereas uh, if you're just mandating a price increase in labor, that's more simple to oversee and collect data on. Does that make sense?
I don't really see why one would be easier to collect data on than the other. You could look at all the same statistical endpoints. You could look at how many businesses left the market, how profit margins changed, how revenues changed, and whatever else in both examples. Those are both equally studyable
I
economic
don't think they're equally
effects, probably.
I would agree that they're studyable, but I don't think they're equally studyable. Like, I think it would be a lot more simple to you're just basically tracking the skill set of laborers and the wages on which they are compensated. Whereas
That's
there's
really
multiple
complicated. Tracking people's
that
skill
is
set is kind
complicated,
of
but
that's
what I'm
tricky.
saying is that it's
Wood is
less.
just wood, but like laborers are
But wood
like
is
people,
wood,
right?
concrete is concrete, fuel is fuel, like steel is steel. Like, these are all, you would have to track all of these things and like where they're coming from, but like
No, people are
if you're
complicated too. They come from they have all sorts of things like they commute from places and they have their own personalities and there's a bunch of psychology stuff and I don't know,
yeah.
studying people is pretty complicated. Wood might be more straightforward, but I feel like we're kind of getting lost in the sauce here. I don't really know what we're debating at this point. I'm a little confused myself. Why don't can I make a different point and we can let's do a different argument or
Okay.
do you want to? All right.
I feel
So
like we could keep going, but if you want to move on,
we,
that's fine.
we can't. All right. If you still want to after I make this point, but I have other points I wanted to get to and I'm
Okay,
noticing
sure,
we're
make
running
your
out of
point.
time. Okay. So another point I wanted to make was that the cost, so the reason why I think it's so important not to cost a million Americans their jobs, even if it marginally increases the wealth of 10 million Americans, is that the marginal worker is the person that loses their job due to raising the price of labor through the minimum wage. Because what does that mean, the marginal worker? It means the person who was not able to get an employer to voluntarily pay them $15 an hour, and so you have to force the employer to pay them that much. This tends to be the kind of person that's more likely to have drug addiction, more if they're poor, which is the segment that you're trying to help, right? So this is like someone with drug addictions. This is someone who is already probably more likely to be mentally ill, whatever. All the research tells us making an extra 10 grand a year does basically diddly squat for your happiness in the long term, compared to losing your job entirely. Losing your job can be one of the most devastating emotional events in your life makes you more likely to turn to drugs, especially if you're that marginal worker that can barely muster $15 per hour worth of value to their employer. So what do you think about that point? Like basically that I believe there is a consensus of happiness research on the relationship between income and happiness that tends to find that you're a lot less helped by an extra 10 grand a year than you are hurt by totally losing your job and being purposeless and living at home bed rotting, smoking weed and feeling sorry for yourself.
I think that the concerns that you have are real, and I think that they can be solved by other means. Would you say, would all of this be if we could just provide for these people like unemployment pay until they are able to find another job, or another solution that can get them a job, like a maybe just resources to go to like jobs fairs, things like that. All in all, to say, are if we could just minimize the negative external effects through that come from this increase in minimum wage, would you no longer be opposed to raising the minimum wage?
I don't understand why create the 1 million lost jobs in the first place and then try to
Um,
patch it by with all these additional policies when you could have just given them income support directly in the first place, instead of.
because you lose you lose a million jobs, but you increase the quality of 17 million jobs, and then you also lift almost a million people out of poverty.
Okay. Okay, but those people in poverty again, you could have with my policy just directly supported their income through an earned income tax credit without get costing them their jobs in the first place. I would rather just make all the poor people richer and let them keep their jobs than make a million poor people lose their jobs, go unemployed, and then try to figure out how to get them back into the workforce through some sort of like jobs training program or whatever it is that you're alluding to. I feel like it's a lot simpler and cleaner to simply target income support to the people who need it the most. You know?
Well, I'm not sure how you would fund that without taxing the populace. And if you increase the wages of
Yeah.
people, you could tax those increases in wages, and then create the support systems needed for people who are unemployed.
I mean, obviously, you're going to have to increase taxes one way or another, but I'm just saying, like, do it in a way that doesn't disemploy a million people. But okay, I mean, I have another argument, which would be, um, why do you think it would be a bad idea to impose a minimum tip requirement on street musicians? Let's say the government says, we got to have compassion for all of these poor street musicians who spend all their time playing the trumpet. So let's make it illegal to tip them any less than $10 per song that you listen to or whatever. What do you think are the predictable consequences of a policy like that?
I don't think that I think that definitionally stops becoming a tip, and it becomes a tax. But I mean, we could continue the argument. Um, you're asking me like how that could be bad?
Yeah, I mean, what do you think would happen? Like, would the street musicians be happy if there was a minimum tip rule?
Yeah, the street musician would probably be unhappy, although I think in real life, I don't think this would happen because you would have no way to enforce that. Like
Well,
you
okay, I mean,
how would you
let's say you
enforce
can enforce it, then what? Like,
well then I guess yeah, that would be bad, but then what kind of world are we in right
okay,
now?
but why is it bad? Why would that be bad?
Well, because I would say that it's bad because the government is constantly making sure that I am tipping $10 to street musicians as I walk by them.
Well, no, I'm not. I'm saying if you were going to give them a tip, you're only allowed to give a tip of $10 or more. That's the rule. So I can't. Let's say I
Oh,
think
if
his song was
okay.
only worth $5. I try to give him $5 for playing a great song. That would be illegal under this policy proposal. What would
If
be
I
wrong with that?
engage and I want to give them a tip,
Yeah, you were that
if I want
right.
to give them a tip, then I would have to want it enough to to meet that threshold. But I think this is different than an employer being forced to pay a little bit more over time, because that employee is giving you, their labor. Whereas like this is in your description, it's more of like a, do I want to engage with this thing? Yes or no. It doesn't really, affect my life if I say no. I'm just going to move on. Whereas, people have to buy groceries. People have to buy, items for their homes. And so you have to employ people to process those groceries, bag those groceries, things like that. And then if
Wait,
those
so
people
the
get paid
difference
more,
is just that you don't need street musicians? I don't understand, it's not as if every business is an essential service,
well,
you
I would
know?
say that
You're
the street musician would probably be out of a job, but I'm not really worried about that world, because I'm not really worried about a street musician. I'm more worried of like, can somebody uh, have a stable job that gives them like benefits and a fair paying job enough
Well, why
to
aren't
so
you
that they
what
can
why
live
don't I
somewhere.
don't understand where's the compassion for the street musician? He needs to eat too. He needs a way to support himself and have a living wage, but he's a street musician, so I don't understand why wouldn't you want to
Well, because
reprice his
it's
labor?
this is like a, how do I explain this? This is like the street musician example is like an artistic sort of thing. It's not really like somebody would be willing to give them $10. Me personally, probably not. Like, or maybe if I made more money, maybe I would be willing to give $10 more. But it's, since it's like an artistic thing, it's like, if we were to change it to if we tipped like a Starbucks employee, and I had to give $10 to like a Starbucks employee, I would probably tip less.
So do you think that artists shouldn't be given a minimum wage?
Like the problem with your argument is that the tips are the sole form of income for this hypothetical person that you invented. Whereas like other people
Sure.
can just, they can have source of income that's not tips, right?
Yeah, but I
They,
mean, it's
but because
okay.
categorically that person's income is tip only, you are by definition forcing them out of the market a little bit by inventing this $10 minimum tip rule, right?
And
Do you
the
get what
and
I'm
the
getting at?
employer that can't afford to hire the guy because his labor's too expensive, how is that any different?
Well, I would say that the employer would be able to hire at least some people. If they aren't able to, then they're
5 minutes.
not being efficient
5
enough.
minutes.
5 minutes? Okay. They're
Yeah.
not being efficient enough to run their business, and their business would survive competition, which I'm fine with.
Okay, well, it's not like every musician is going to go out of business from this. It'll only be some of them, right? So I think the analogy holds up. Like some musicians will be able to continue performing because they command voluntarily more in tips than $10 per tip, but most won't. I feel like I don't quite understand. Like, if you're saying that you wouldn't support a minimum tip, but you would support a minimum wage, and the only difference is because a minimum tip is one source of income, but a minimum wage is multiple sources of income. I'm kind of confused what your
Well,
point is
no,
there.
because a definition of a tip is like a voluntary excessive payment that is over the that is like an agreed upon thing. Like, this is over the cost of the good or service that I am receiving. This is a thing on top of that, and and your hypothetical musician, their sole income is based off of tips. They're not like that. Like, if it was somebody working at a doing a performance at a concert, they could sell tickets. That could be a business, right? And if that business required you, or if the law required you to give give a $10 tip per like ticket that you purchased, then that would affect that business. But they could still make sales, and they would still compete against other um, uh, concert halls that sell tickets to other bands, I suppose. What I'm getting at is that I think it's important that the distinction of tipping versus like a wage, like tip is a voluntary thing. I think that distinction is important, and I think the sole income source of a tip in this hypothetical situation is also important. I don't.
I don't
I think
understand.
if you have
Like,
a,
okay, so you're I feel like you're just begging the question against the hypothetical. Like
Can you
you're
explain that?
saying, well, the reason you shouldn't have a minimum tip is because a tip is a voluntary thing. But an employer is going to say the same thing with respect to the minimum wage. He's going to say, the reason you shouldn't have a minimum wage is the wage I pay an employee is a voluntary thing. It ought to be voluntary. It shouldn't be something you force me to do, right? And anyway, the point of the example is just to say that, like, when you make certain labor transactions illegal, rather than just if that musician is poor, giving him money directly to support him through his poverty, you make it illegal for anyone trying to tip him less than $10 to tip him. You actually just leave that guy worse off, right? The whole reason poverty is bad for people is because it's a condition of having too few options in life. How does it help that person to make him have even fewer options in life by imposing this minimum tip requirement and then freezing out of the market anyone who would have been happy to give him a $5 tip? He would have been better off with, a combination of income support from the government plus, people giving him whatever tips they're willing to give him voluntarily, rather than, putting him out of his job.
I don't think if this person was put out of their job, I don't think it's reasonable to assume that there won't be any other opportunity for that person anywhere in the country. If you raise the minimum wage, you're gonna increase, the number of options throughout the country for people. People can move, and that is a hardship of some sort, but people move because they seek better opportunities. So I kind of reject the premise that
Well, I don't understand. How is it increasing someone's options to induce them, to force them to move to
Mhm.
go find a new job? That sounds like losing options and then responding to
do
losing
you,
options to having to
do
go
you agree
somewhere
with this?
else.
Do you agree that a business will only pay their employee like either what they're worth or what they're able to get away with paying them and keep the rest? I know we're short on time.
Yeah, I guess so. I think in the
Uh,
long term, those end up being the same, or at least they end up like nearly converging. Um,
so wouldn't
you
it
know,
be reasonable uh, to assume that if you raise the minimum wage, you will inevitably force the businesses who can absorb that increase of cost to just pay more, and thus that just increases the quality of that job for those people.
it might, but it might also do that at the cost of raising, passing those prices off to the consumer. And then
Prices will
by
always
the way,
increase.
those consumers end up being disproportionately the people who get disemployed by the minimum wage, because the kind of person who buys McDonald's hamburgers is also the guy who works for McDonald's, right? And so
That is
you end up
time.
hurting them at both levels, both as an employee and as a consumer.
True, true. All right.
All right.
Going into outros. Remember? This is a tournament. Can I give your best reasonings for why the side chat should vote for you and the judges? So I think we'll start with Azhron for the outros. Your 2
Okay.
minutes starts now.
All right. Thank you for the time. Thank you for the debate. I feel as if I demonstrated at least somewhat well that raising the minimum wage would be a good thing for employees being able to earn more money. I don't think my opponent demonstrated that, although he cited the 1 million job loss in the report that I cite, and I agree that that could happen. In the same report, the wages of the jobs that don't get cut increase for 17 million of those jobs, and it does lift 900,000 people out of poverty. So I don't think my opponent demonstrated that the negative externalities of this minimum wage increase will affect enough people in order for it to not be worth going for. So that's how I feel. Thank you all for the time. I see the rest of my time.
All right. Now over to Percy. Your 2 minutes starts now.
Okay, thank you. I also appreciate the debate. Thanks for talking. Yeah, I think, well, so I'll just review some of the points that we hit. So it didn't sound like my opponent uh, was actually, he didn't disagree with me about the 1 million jobs lost. He just disagrees that the way that it works out on the scales is that it's so bad to lose 1 million jobs if you can still help out 17 million people with raising their income. Now, of course, my response to that was, it turns out that he ended up conceding that a lot of those 17 million people, 90% of them, are not even people who are poor. These are people who are second and third level earners within households that are already making enough money, middle and upper middle class, that are, you know, sending their kids to school and stuff. So it's badly, insofar as the minimum wage increase is supposed to help the poor, it seems like there's more direct ways to do that. You could just give a direct form of wage of income supplementation to poor people where it's needed most, instead of sort of spraying it across multiple income bands. I think we also made the point about federalism versus localism. My opponent wants to set a federal standard for the minimum wage where every single state has to follow the same policy. A small town diner in Mississippi is going to have to weather the same wage that makes more sense adapted to a market in Los Angeles,
30
California.
seconds.
And I said that I don't think that's a good idea. I think instead you should leave it to the states so that they can calibrate these policies to their local market conditions. I think, yeah, I didn't get to make this point, but I think it might be interesting to leave the audience with this thought. As AI continues to take people's jobs, or that increasingly becomes a thing, the raising the price of these people's labor will likely accelerate automation as well. So there's a point
That
there.
is time. All right, we'll be having a poll inside chat. Also, our judges will be giving me their decisions.
The poll is up. Sounds like that is true for several of you in the side chat. as
True.
well.
I don't know.
Jesus
Might have had
Christ.
some new.
Are we
some
allowed
new
to
things.
participate in our own polls?
How's
Yeah,
why
Chris-
not? Sure.
Yeah,
It's a
we,
free
we won't
country.
know. We
Really?
won't know.
Okay, I wasn't going to, but I guess if my
Yeah, I had to
if you
bring
won't
the
themselves.
prettiness level down a little bit. Just wanted to.
I won't if you won't, but I mean, I guess at this point,
I'm
I
not
guess we
gonna
should both.
vote, but I mean,
All right, I won't.
okay.
We
And I
we
trust that
won't
you're not
know.
lying to me.
We won't know. We won't have a single.
My
clue.
hands are, yeah, I'll stand back.
Gosh,
from
I
the room.
I might have to make this a rule now. Okay, we cannot be talking about people's attractiveness levels inside chat for a debate. Okay,
I haven't been reading the side chat, but if that's what's going on,
you
guys
are a
focus on-
people are.
They
we
think
need
you
to
are
focus
a
on the
snack,
minimum-
my friend. Okay.
I want to focus on the federal minimum wage, and then we can talk
They did
about-
not care about that. Okay, when you
Well,
started
on the-
talking about wood, okay, they thought about something else. All right.
On that note, friends, tomorrow is the start of Pride. We'd like to wish
Ooh.
everybody happy Pride. And we're going to be making some pretty big changes at Digital Ground Game and Celebration. So keep an eye out for new logos and branding. It'll be a lot of fun. Some good stuff.
Right.
All right.
Already got one in from one of the judges. We have a novel here. Okay. Holy shit. I need to make this a rule. God damn it. Percy wins because he is hot, but more importantly, he debated better by controlling the scope of the debate. The street musician stuff was good. Thuggish rhetoric. Azhron should have argued that anybody who's self-employed is categorized not as a W-2 wage employee, artist, or self-employed. Therefore, the argument is not topical. Percy also made a better argument. Specifically, he has earned income tax. Azhron didn't effectively counter it and showed why the minimum wage is better. Just that the negative effects of raising it are worth the benefits. Percy also made the stronger closing argument. Reiterated his alt policies and reiterated that Azhron's policies had the shortcomings of job losses, poor targeting in terms of families helped, and stated impact. Both showed up well prepared. Appreciate them both. All right, that's our first judge.
When you said it was a novel, I was like worried it was going to be like a ChatGPT generated
True, no.
long thing.
All right, and keep your popular votes coming in.
True.
Yeah.
Wait, so how does the voting work? Is it a combination of audience
Yeah.
polling and judge
Yes,
polling?
sir.
Okay.
Basically, the popular vote is one vote, and then the judges' votes
Okay.
are each
Yeah.
a vote as well.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so it's 4 total votes
Right. Right.
Yes.
decide the outcome. Okay, gotcha.
And I'm
Is
a
there a
tiebreaker.
tiebreaker?
Yeah.
Oh, you're
It's
the
never
tiebreaker.
happened. It's never happened.
It
I'm
came
so happy
close.
because holy shit,
It came
I'm so worried
so
the day that there's a
close.
fucking tie and then fucking chat comes at me. Holy shit.
It
That
came
day it's
so
ahead of
close.
me.
And Retro is the
Holy fuck.
tiebreaker?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like
I like all
Retro's a
that.
little bit weak-willed. He'd be like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't want to offend anyone. You're a
Hey,
Oh
you're
no,
tiebreaker.
saying
Let's
all
go
absolutely.
back
this
and
right
Absolutely
forth."
when he
offending
might
people,
need to
okay?
be the one to call
Bro.
it for you. So you better hold that thought, okay?
I'm cool with offending people, okay?
It'd be
Just
funny
chat
if
has
the
a very
tiebreaker
long memory,
didn't
okay? They're like
want to
elephants.
break it.
They'll know. They'll
True.
remember.
True. That's too funny. Oh boy. We have
All right.
21
What's that?
votes and 21.
Only 21?
21. Come on,
Wow.
friends.
Give it
I
another minute.
surely thought there would
Cut
be.
it there.
Well, you know what it was? It's that NoKnee won our previous debates. Everybody's like, no, it shouldn't be mandatory.
True.
We're
Oh my
not going to
gosh.
mandatorily vote.
That's so
Fuck you think?
real. Yes, they're
Yeah,
influenced by the previous debate.
right?
They're like, what is
NoKnee's
this?
an
Mandatory voting.
influencer.
True. Holy shit.
Yes. Zero's like, come on, do it. All right.
30 seconds. Then cut that poll.
Okay.
I don't know how they tied it last time. I don't even know how. They're
was
coordinating
crazy.
behind the scenes.
Well,
They're like, they have a group chat now.
I'm good at cutting polls, so we're gonna.
True. Love that. Go with that debate topic.
We got 23, and so keep them coming. I just saw
Hey,
it tick
23.
up.
Oh. But yeah, that was crazy last time. That was like some snarker level coordination of them tying the vote. That was crazy.
Out of 36, but yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah. It was like that for who was that for that we had? Okay, I have the bracket here. Let me take a look. Yeah, so it was equal for Anti and Zach as well.
Ooh.
So that was a popular vote
right.
tie.
Let's cut it there.
Alrighty.
See what the results are.
Okay, friends. So we have 23 votes in. And we have, you know what I'm going to do?
What?
Let me put a picture in the chat so people are like, you don't have to take my word for it. Like,
True.
Like LeVar Burton. All right, here we go. All right, the winner is Percy with
all right.
Congratulations.
18
Oh,
votes.
no. That's just the side. That's 2 votes. Now we got to go to the other judges.
Oh, wow.
Got 2 more judges.
It's 18-5. And then our so the 2 judges so far.
Well, we got 1 judge.
What do we
We
have?
got the popular vote.
Okay.
Both for Percy, I believe. Wait, let me check it back. For the first one. Yes. The third one, Percy, hands down. He brought facts, studies, and excellent logic, and started the debate using his opponent's own research paper against him. Very well done. And the fourth judge, Percy, seems more prepared in this debate, so he's my vote. God damn, Percy.
All right.
It's a blowout.
But not was J-Moss one of the judges? I see J-Moss in the chat.
Negatory. No. Who?
Oh.
Jay who?
Never mind. J-Moss. There's a guy who he was judging like the last time I think you guys did this. Or someone did this.
No, Zero. You do not get to know. Holy shit. I'm scared the day that I have to be a tiebreaker. The chat's going to be whatever I say.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. And thanks again, Azhron, for the good conversation.
Yeah.
Wait.
Likewise.
Okay. Well, that's the end for debate night. Same time, same place next week. But if I do want to, Percy, you were on the no side of raising the minimum wage and shit, right?
Yeah.
That's right. I was arguing against it.
Oh yeah. Let's move it to a channel. I have no idea. Fucking mods. Where do you want to send them? Brick, where should we send them? We'll send it to.
What are you guys? What's the next topic, or like, what's the next plan for this?
Go to debate 3.
Well, actually, Retro,
Debate
do you want me to
3.
put the bracket up as it stands or hold?
Sure. Yeah.
All right.
I mean, we're all just gonna head over to debate 3, but yeah. So, yeah.
All right,
Thank you all for coming.
I'll pop it up there then.
Yeah, true.
All right.
Bye.
Okay. I'll go ahead and close this out. Bye, everybody. And that means we are done for the night, YouTubers. I agree, Severin. It could be crazy, but yeah, that's it, friends. So have a great night, and we'll see you next Saturday.